Activision devs do not play their own game. It's not your dad doesn't support you.
You should know, you worked at a coffee shop, you stupid bitch.
My name is Casey, and absolutely not fucking Tanner, because my parents don't hate me that much.
Hey, did they have just 8 patches lined up, but they just didn't release them because they were on break? No, you moron kids.
Then we'll, of course, get into it. Change your fucking name and get scammed. He's feeling under the weather.
I probably won't say another word until Stay Humble, so have a good pod, Raz. I'll be here listening.
Got it.
Dude, I just thought of another one. Miniature Wayne, Little Wayne, he needs to stop too.
Yeah. I mean, I have almost no respect for him because he doesn't write his own shit.
I've almost never had respect for him. Yeah, he's atrocious.
He has some absolute bangers, but he didn't produce the beats or the lyrics. So, like, I don't even know how do you get that job, by the way? Like, how do you become a rapper who doesn't have to, like, do anything except walk in, be handed the fucking lyrics, and then rap them? Because that seems, I mean, look, Lil Wayne's a talented performer. He can, like, deliver the lyrics well or whatever. But that's all he has to do. How many other people could do that pretty well? A lot. How do you get the gig?
Yeah.
Like, why was he the guy and not someone else? Because I refuse
dumb.
to believe he's the best fucking performer of lyrics he didn't write that was available at the time. You know?
Yeah, I don't think most musicians make their own music, honestly. A lot of them don't.
A lot of them don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. And and you know, I'll listen to the music and I'll find it interesting, but I don't respect them very much. I don't know. Not that it doesn't matter. Welcome to the show. Today, welcome to the Dropshot of Call of Duty podcast, episode number 222. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. This episode will be about Call of Duty. This is a very interesting episode, and I'm very excited for it. I'm joined by Tanner, who's going to shit his pants because he is lactose intolerant.
I'm not. That's not what I said.
Why don't you like lactose, Tanner? Tell us about it.
I'm not lactose intolerant.
Sure, bud.
Got it.
Welcome to the show. So today we are doing an episode, and we've been meaning to do this episode. I first got this idea from my father, actually. My dad, one day. Because, by the way, you can skip announcements. Go to the timestamps. You can skip to the episode if you want. But the announcements are fun and exciting. You should stick around, you know? And hey, you're listening to a podcast about Call of Duty. You obviously don't have anything better to do with your time. So don't skip the announcements. My dad went to the haircut place and was talking to the kid. He's like 20, literally like a child, who's cutting his hair. He's like, "Oh, do you play Call of Duty?" And the kid's like, "Yeah." And my dad was like, "Oh, my son has a podcast about it. You should listen to it." And then they were like chatting. The kid was like, "Oh yeah, I play, like, I haven't been able to get a kill in Warzone yet." So I swear to God, at this time especially, I didn't know that was possible. Like, I didn't know people that novice existed. So my dad tells me this story, and I was like, "Really? Not a kill?" And he's like, "Yeah, you should like make an episode for people like him that like aren't even good enough to get started. Like, they need everything, like all the absolute basics." And I was like, "You're right. I should do that." And this was months ago. Today is going to be that episode, sort of. We've been meaning to do this for quite a while. Now seemed like a good time because we still got some time left in Warzone. Almost a year, I would assume. Yeah, 11 months.
An amount of time.
Like 11 months more of this iteration of Warzone. And many of these tips will carry over to Warzone 2 anyway. And also, we're kind of at the lull in between seasons lull. We're still waiting on season 3 to come out. We're going to be doing our roundtable next Saturday. And hopefully by then we have some season 3 info to go over and plan for. But since we're not there yet, we thought now would be a great opportunity to finally do this episode. And that is what we're doing. So let me add, if you are not a new player or a sub-average player, I still think there will be some utility for you in this episode. If you're over a 1.0 KD, then many of these tips you will already know, but I would be very surprised if every single thing we talk about today you were aware of as a skilled player. I think there is something here for almost everyone, and there's a tip that even players better than Tanner and I in the community might not have thought about or kind of examined at all. So I think this will be useful for good players as well, but the main audience for today's episode is the average player and the below average player. So if you're a point 0 to 0.9 KD player, we're making this episode specifically for you. But I think even if you're higher than that, you will have some utility out of this. And if not, it'll be interesting. But I think, again, there's going to be something here for everyone. Do you agree, Tanner?
Yeah. A lot of it's like actually day one stuff, but some people just haven't learned. I find it so hard to believe that a 20-year-old guy cutting your dad's hair couldn't get a kill in Warzone. I feel like your dad misunderstood, and really what he was trying to say was, oh, I haven't been able to drop a 40 bomb solo quads yet. I've only been able to drop a 39. And your dad's like, oh, he couldn't get a kill, son. Because your dad's old and dog shit. So that could be it.
And doesn't understand anything. Yeah, that is possible.
I find it impossible, actually. I don't know. But yeah, so anyways, that's where he got this shit idea from. For an episode. Yeah, about
whether or not it's true, I think it's a good idea to do.
We doctored that entire story. None of that was real, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fabricated story, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, most of this, the vast majority of this is for lower skilled and newer players. Just things to kind of like drill into your dumb little head to, things to get used to doing that will make you a better player over time. It's not something you're going to, nothing works this way. You're not going to suddenly listen to this and your KD's going to go up 0.20 in a week. No, but it'll hopefully get you in the habit of doing certain things that you otherwise weren't.
Yes. And that reminds me,
that reminds you?
Okay, sorry. I had to write something down. Okay, yes, yeah. So that is what we're doing today. Before that, any announcements?
No.
Yeah, I don't think we have any announcements. So if you're listening for the jingle, here it is.
Extreme FPS. Thanks for the 300 bits, buddy. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, my dude. 300 absolute bits.
Right. Let's get into it. So, today, again, tips for the average and below average player in Warzone, for Warzone. Okay. Tip number 1 has a lot of sub tips. And it also has a forward. Is that what it's called when you write something before the thing? Yes, because an afterword. I don't care.
Thought there was a different word. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's a forward.
Pre something?
Let me look this up. Forward.
Prelude?
A short introduction to a book. Yeah, it's a forward.
Prologue?
Yeah, it's not a prelude. No, and we'll edit all of that out.
Okay.
It's a forward. I was right. Giant IQ 86% win rate from Diamond 5 to Legend in Hearthstone. He does it again, the mad fucking lad, dominating the mirror match because I have a huge brain. On every game you play, not just Call of Duty, the first thing you should do for literally any game, I don't care what it is, single player, multiplayer, a card game, it doesn't matter. The first thing you should be doing when you boot up the game, you're real excited to play. You have ADD, you've had an Adderall prescription for most of your life, including your young life, which is why your brain is, of course, damaged, and that's why you listen to this podcast. And you can't wait to just get right into it because you're a dopamine addict. Stop, okay? First thing you got to do, you boot up your game, whatever fucking game it is. You smash the options and or setting button, and you look at every single setting. That is the first thing you should do on any video game you play ever. And it's that simple. And start tweaking things to your liking. This is something I've said before, and I will say it again. This is important. Now, when I do this, which I do, many times I'll look at a bunch of settings and I'll be confused. I don't know what this means. Apply all plates at once? What are plates? What is that? I don't know what this is. So then I just leave it as default and I let that stew in my subconscious. But some settings I do know, such as render resolution. I know what that means. It shouldn't be at 1000%. Got it. Cool. Change it. Some things are simple. Some things you won't understand, but then you'll be familiar with them. You can go back to them later. And on that note, we are going to go through a few game settings that you are required to be using, and it's that simple. If I'm not forcing you to use this setting, if we are not forcing this upon you, we will make a note of it. But assume that all of this is not optional unless otherwise stated. And many of you have just not looked at your settings, your options for Warzone. So we're going to go through some of these, and you should have all of these handled. This is an incredibly easy way to take 2 minutes, fix your dog shit settings, and you'll do better at the game. Now, like Tanner said, it's not going to boost your KD by 0.2, but it's going to help you. And it will boost your KD some, especially if you have some of these settings wrong. So let's get into it. In no particular order, we're going to go through some settings you need. Okay. Square minimap. Okay. If you have a circle minimap, which is the default minimap, that's fine, except the square minimap shows more area.
It's a lot. It's like 30% more or something.
It's really big. Yeah. You will see a lot more on your minimap if it's square. So I don't care if you like circles more than squares. This isn't preschool. The square shows more, therefore it's better. And it's that simple. So turn that on. Not much more to say on that. You get more information. Information is power, as they told me in kindergarten. And that is also true in Warzone. So you want this. You want the square minimap because seeing more minimap is only good. There's literally no downside to it. So start there. Not really much else to say on that. You can find that in interface, HUD, minimap shape, square. Minimap rotation should be on also, by the way.
Yeah, that's on by default.
But that's on by default.
I don't know why they haven't just made it so square minimap is default. Even Ted Timmons, the lead creative director of Raven, I've seen him on Twitter making fun of the round minimap. It's like, hey, let's just make it default, right? Just remove the round one.
Just remove the round one.
If you're making fun of people essentially for not knowing to change it, change it. Make it default. Make the better one default.
And this is one of those things where if you're an average player or a below average player, that probably means you're not watching many streams, you're not watching very many YouTube videos, and you're not looking at your settings. So you probably don't even know that the minimap can be changed in terms of shape. And you certainly don't know that the shape matters because you can see more. So we're here to help. Make it square. Next. Auto deploy parachute should be off. This is also on by default. It's a setting that if you have it on, when you're floating toward the ground, once you get close enough, your character will deploy the parachute without you doing anything. Now, you might think that's good so that you don't accidentally splat and die. You're wrong, because you deploy it automatically way too early, and also you always want to be in control of it anyway. So turn this absolutely fucking off, because then you can land on the ground more quickly than someone who has it on always, 100% of the time. Especially after the changes to parachutes where you can fucking deploy it like an inch above the ground. You really want this to be off. And a corollary to this point is that in your pregame lobbies, look around. Look around for people who are just pulling their chutes 30 stories off the ground and then just floating straight down. If you see a lot of those people, smile, because this lobby's dog shit.
Yeah, it's a bot lobby.
There are a lot of shitters with auto deploy parachute on. Turn it off. Simple.
That's actually the number one thing we use in a pregame lobby to judge if the lobby is going to be sweaty or not. Yep. If you see 30 people landing on you with auto deploy, someone immediately says, oh, this is going to be a bot lobby. Everyone's got auto parachute on. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly though, I feel like if you're really, really, really low skill level, this is almost something just to leave on. Because if you're like a 0.2 KD player in Warzone, which exists, by the way, you're going to just... If you're that bad, sorry, you're gonna forget to pull your parachute too. It's like almost one of those things where if you're that bad at the game, no, they won't remember to pull their parachute actually, and they'll just fall to their death all the time. I think. I don't think you realize how low skilled players exist. You watch Gat Granny, man. That she's not pulling her parachute and thinking about it. She's falling to her death.
Okay, we'll put it this way. If you have an AARP card, then you can keep it on. But for everyone else, you're going to splat a couple times because you're not used to it, and then you'll get used to it, and you'll pull the chute.
If you have reflexes, turn it off for sure.
Yeah, if you have grandchildren, keep auto deploy parachute on. Otherwise, turn it fucking off.
Yeah. So most of you listening, actually, let's leave it on.
Yeah, many of
grandparents.
Yeah. Next setting. This is one we talked about a while ago, and I think the consensus is in on this topic. Change in your settings. I forget where this is. I didn't write this particular one down. Apply armor plate behavior. Change that to apply all, so that if you press the button to equip one plate, your character will continue plating until you're fully plated. So that way you can press the button once and then you can start running around and doing other shit while your character's plating automatically instead of having to smash it like 3 times separately. Yeah. Because if you really need to cancel it, you can YY, and therefore there are relatively few advantages to doing it one click, one plate. I think this is a little more nuanced than that, but we've talked about that before. And pretty much every Warzone pro does this setting, which is going to lead into a point later on. I would say, one click, equip all plates, or one press. So there you go.
Agreed. Yeah, it's like you can cancel it if you have to, anyways. It's just better. It's less things.
Pretty much anything.
It's less thing. It's just one less thing to not have to think about and worry about. Like keep trying to pressing the plate button. It's just one click and you're done. Let them keep plating.
Yeah. Next one, Tanner. Did you read this next one?
Yeah.
I'm curious for your thoughts on it because I don't know if you've done this, but one thing I've done: turn announcer volume down as low as you can while still being able to hear the announcer. So a long time ago in Warzone, my teammates let me die. I never die, and it's my fault. That never happens. So my teammates let me die. And then I go to the gulag. And then the gulag starts. And the announcer in Warzone volume, because by default the announcer volume's at 100%, is like, get in there and get ready to fight. If you don't win, you're gonna get fucked. Or whatever he's saying. He's just actually monologuing in my ear.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm getting tack sprinted by the other guy in the gulag. Don't hear his footsteps because the announcer is completely overpowering all of the audio. And then I die. And if I didn't hear the announcer at all, I would have heard that dude's footsteps, and I would have won that gulag because I would have known he was coming. So then what I did, I went into my settings, turned announcer volume to 0. But oops, that's not good either, because then when someone calls a UAV around you, when an enemy is deploying on you, an advanced UAV, loadout drop, does the announcer talk for a loadout drop? I don't think he does.
No.
But for the UAVs and for like enemy incoming above or whatever the fuck he says, you do want announcer volume, and if it's at 0, you won't know if someone popped a UAV on you. So my tip is to turn the announcer volume as low as you can so that you get minimally fucked in the gulag, but have it loud enough so you can hear it when someone calls a UAV or some shit. What are your thoughts on this tip, Tanner?
Yeah, I haven't messed with mine in a long time, but I saw when I was going through settings to write some things down for this, mine was at like 25%. I can probably turn that down, honestly, closer to like 10 or 15. It's just, I haven't touched any of the audio settings in a long time, actually. But yeah, that's definitely a salt tip. And that should be obvious. Another obvious thing, music should be at 0% always.
Oh,
that's
correct.
the first thing I do when I start playing a video game like Razinon. It's crazy that people exist that load up the game and start playing it. Yeah, I spend minutes in the settings at least.
Yep.
Music is the first thing that sucker goes off. If it's a single player game like Red Dead Redemption or Sea of Thieves where background music actually adds to the game and makes it more exciting, then I leave it at like 10-15%. But music, I mean, all of that shit should be off. It's just, I don't even, does Warzone have music if you just play it?
Yes.
Does it really?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
It does. And it can fuck you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It can fuck you. So have music volume at 0 always. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's absolutely, yeah. So
a couple other, and this is kind of part of a broader tip, which is that everything extra, all extra anything that's not required for you to do well, turn it off. That includes music. It includes subtitles, just more shit and information on your screen and clutter you don't need. Turn them off. War tracks, where you get the dumb fucking heavy metal double bass jam when you get into a quad, turn that shit off. You can
like
disable
the war tracks?
it. Nope, I sure don't. Mine are disabled and the volume's at 0. I'd rather be able to hear. So turn that off as well. All the extra shit you don't need, turn it off. You want as little information as possible. You only want important information, not fucking war tracks and subtitles. So turn all of that shit off. So anyway, the announcer volume you do need, unfortunately. So turn it as low as you can while still hearing it.
Yeah.
Next tip, and this makes me real fucking sad to have to talk about, but there's an alarmingly large contingent of people who are operating under the misapprehension that they play better with aim assist off. Okay, let me be super clear. You're wrong, and I'm positive your KD is lower than 2.0. Probably even 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, terrible. And the reason people think this is because it is possible for you to die because of aim assist when you otherwise wouldn't have died. That can happen. I've been playing on the sticks a little bit, and when you're shooting at one guy and he's one shot, and then someone else runs past you, and then your aim assist drags to the guy who's full health running past you, and then you can't shoot the guy you were shooting in the first place who's one shot, and then the guy who was one shot kills you. Did you just die because you have aim assist on? Yes, you did. But having aim assist on will save your life way more often than it gets you killed. Immeasurably more often than it gets you killed. So I will grant that while it is true having aim assist on will get you killed occasionally, the number of times that will happen is literally 5% or lower. The amount of times having aim assist on versus off will save your life.
Yeah.
So keep aim assist on, have the aim assist settings standard, and aim assist response whatever curve dynamic. These are the settings everyone uses. Aim assist on, standard, dynamic. Do that and don't touch it.
Yep.
And here's another big point. Well, we'll say that we'll start there. What you obviously agree with this, right?
Yeah, the number one thing I see is people will say, like, they'll be shooting at someone, they'll have them one shot, and then that person's teammate starts running in front of them, and the aim assist will drag and start shooting at that person. And then they say, fuck, dude, the aim assist messed me up. Let's be super clear. You wouldn't have gotten a hit marker if your aim assist was off. You know, it's dragging because the person ran in front of him, and you're still getting shots on. But you would have just been completely fucked and dead if it was off. So stop. There's definitely someone listening to this right now that thinks they're better with it off. You are absolutely not. You are not.
You're wrong. Yeah,
you need aim assist on. Yeah, there's a reason no Warzone pros play with aim assist off, man. Believe me.
Yeah.
Turn that shit on. Leave it on, I mean.
Leave it on, yes. And there's a question in chat from Pib. Can you explain the different types of aim assist? Because I've never understood the differences. That's a great segue into our next point. No, I can't, and it doesn't matter. Here's why. Every single good Warzone player has aim assist on, standard, dynamic. They've done the work for you. That's all I need to know. It doesn't matter. I don't know what dynamic does. I don't know what every other setting does. Here's what I do know. Dynamic's the best. Why? Because the best players in the world, because Aiden, the #1 earner in Warzone of all time, has it as standard dynamic. That's all you need to know. So stop. It doesn't matter what the other aim assist settings are. It couldn't matter less. And you're not going to figure it out. Yeah. And I don't mean you specifically, Pib. I do mean you specifically, but I mean all of you, everyone listening. You're not going to find out something no one else figured out.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a setting Aiden and every other Warzone pro didn't figure out by now. Copy all the good players' settings. It's that simple. And don't question it and don't get cute, but we'll get more into that.
I think JGod also did a video back in Verdansk about the different aim assist settings, and I think those are the default ones because they provided the strongest level of aim assist, which is the reason why they're all saying to use it. Because some, like, if a person runs by you, some will essentially drag a lot less than others would, I believe. That's what I've always gathered from it. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just standard aim assist, dynamic response curve is what you should be playing on. I've never seen anyone else say anything differently.
Correct.
Or anyone that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get more into kind of things surrounding this in a bit. Next is there are settings where you can apply a multiplier to your default sensitivity based on how much you are zooming in. So, for example, if I'm hip firing, my sensitivity is 1.0. So whatever my regular aim assist is, if I'm hip fire, my aim assist is 1.0 times my regular sensitivity, which means it's the same. And then you could set something where if you're zooming in 2.0, you can have like a 0.95 multiplier. So you have a little less sensitivity. You move a little slower when you're zoomed in a little more because you want to be a little more accurate. You should strongly consider doing custom sensitivities based on how much you're zoomed in. This is for both controller and keyboard and mouse players. If you're on controller, I think what a lot of the really good players do, L gave me his settings, and L is very smart to be copying really good players' settings. And one of the settings is like his ADS sensitivity is 0.85. So he has less sensitivity when he's aimed down sight, which makes sense because people are farther away. You need more accuracy when you're shooting someone far away versus when you're hip firing. Or when you're just trying to move around, you want to have higher sense because it's more convenient to turn, enter the door, turn, loot the thing. But then when you actually need to be accurate and you're ADSing, your sense is effectively lower. But in addition to just ADS sensitivity, you can do sniping sensitivity. This is something that helped my ability to snipe in Warzone more than literally anything I've ever done. is I set my custom zoom sensitivity for like 7.0 zoom and higher is 0.70 cents. So I have a custom mouse sensitivity, whatever, it's 2.85 at 1600 DPI, it doesn't matter. But if I'm using a sniper that zooms 7x or more, the optic, then my sensitivity is 70% lower. So I have to move more to move my reticle around. As soon as I did this, like literally a day afterward, I was hitting way more headshots because it was easier for me to aim. And you could say, well, why don't you just lower your regular sensitivity by 30% so that you always have that? Well, because my desk isn't the size of Panama. I can't afford to take the time to be fucking throwing my mouse across the desk every time I want to open a door, open a box, or when I'm hip firing, it would actually be like probably bad. And there is a whole debate and there's so much information about like what your mouse sensitivity should be for Warzone or for FPS games. You have people like Shroud and Huskers and Symphony who are like super low sensitivity. And then you have other really good players too. I don't see many of them in Warzone. I'm sure they exist though, who have fairly high mouse sensitivity and they're still Warzone pros. But regardless, custom sense per zoom and custom ADS sense is worth doing. Since most of you play on controller, I would strongly encourage you set your ADS multiplier to something like 0.85. You can look into other pros and copy all of their settings. I would recommend that too. We'll get more into that. And then additionally, if you're having trouble hitting headshots or sniping, you can set the multiplier even lower, 0.7, 0.6, whatever you want. Do you do this, Tanner?
Yeah, mine's like 0.8 or 0.75. Yeah. It helps a
What
lot
are your
for
thoughts?
sure. Yeah. Definitely helps make more accurate shots, especially at long range distances. It's definitely smart to do. Yeah. I didn't even do this till like the end of Verdansk, actually. I think someone in Discord or something suggested we do it. I don't remember who it was, but I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. And then I tried it and like immediately liked it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
So
makes
it's,
it easier.
yeah, I like it. I think it helps a lot.
Yeah, this is a tip that's really good whether you're on keyboard and mouse or on controller. I use it for both.
Yeah.
Next, if you are on keyboard and mouse, have prone be a dedicated keybind. So a lot of people, some of you probably don't even know you can go straight to prone with one button press. I don't think this is possible on controller. It's not, actually, I'm positive. But on keyboard and mouse, you can press one button and go straight to prone. I used to not do this, in fact, and Tanner showed me the way. Because the other way you get to prone, if you're on controller, you're forced to do this, but you could do it on keyboard and mouse too, is you hold crouch, and then you'll go like crouch and then prone. But that takes a little bit longer. Maybe not in-game. The animation might be the same speed. But when you're doing that, you're forced to hold your crouch button, and you could be doing other shit with that digit, that finger. And you could also be thinking less if you were not holding crouch for that entire time. Switch through is just bad, and having prone be its own bind is extremely good, especially for drop shotting. Really good for drop shotting. Also really good for when you're getting rezzed. You can just be straight down prone with one button press.
True.
So I strongly encourage you guys do this. Fuck, what else was I going to say about this?
There's really no way to do it on controller. There has to be.
It's not possible, no. I specifically asked because it was annoying me. It's like literally not even a setting. Because I was going to make it like a paddle. But
that's what I was going to say. There's no paddle that could just do it? That's
no, because in the game settings, they don't have something where like prone keybind. Because they all have like the button layouts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they don't have anything that has just prone on it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I use left control for prone. super clutch. Never hit it accidentally. It's insane. And once I stopped doing go through, stance change, whatever, and going straight to prone, it helped a lot. So do that.
Yeah.
And then another thing, if you're on keyboard and mouse, stop using scroll wheel for weapon swap. This is default. Don't do it. It's inconsistent, and you will get killed 100% of the time every time you try to reload cancel by using your scroll wheel. It simply isn't possible.
Well, you'll just accidentally hit it too, because it's a little scroll wheel. It's not that hard to make moves, so you'll hit it on accident.
And that too. But like, you might use scroll wheel, and when you're in the pregame lobby, you like shoot, press reload, and then test it by going up a tick and then down a tick. Congratulations, you reload canceled using your dog shit weapon swap keybind. But the only time that that's not going to work is also, coincidentally, the only time you need it to work, which is when you're getting your ass fucked and you have to reload cancel and you're panicking and your BPM is 170. And then you're gonna fuck it up. You're gonna press it once, or you're gonna press it 5 times, and then you're not gonna reload cancel and you're gonna die. Don't do it. Stop it. I don't use scroll wheel for literally anything. Some people use it for ping. I think that's fine. I think that's a good use of scroll wheel. That's pretty much the only one I can think of, though. It's a dog shit bind. It's inconsistent. It's unwieldy. You have an entire fucking keyboard. Use that. You shouldn't need to bind anything to scroll wheel literally at all. And I recommend you just don't use it for actually anything.
Are you talking about scrolling it or also pressing it? It is included in that.
Just scrolling it. Pressing it is super consistent. I use pressing it for ping, and that's really good.
I use pressing for lethal, throwing my lethal.
Yeah, that's a really good use too, because then you can you can move in any direction while you're cooking a nade. So using that is really good as well. That's a good option. I think having a lethal on some mouse bind is a good idea.
Yeah.
But scroll wheel, it should be unused. Scroll wheel for melee, terrible dog shit idea. Because you're trying to shoot, you're panicking, it's a 1v2 and you're about to win the game. And then because your heart rate's too high and you're not good and you're not on beta blockers, you hit the scroll wheel on accident, you stop shooting to fucking melee the air, and you're dead. Congratulations. You died because you're dumb.
He probably means clicking it. Yeah, he probably means clicking it.
Clicking it.
That's what I would imagine. Yeah, if you have scroll wheel as melee pushing or, scrolling it, then that's an insane thing to do and suggest jacks and fuck you, yeah.
Do you use scroll wheel for literally anything, Tanner?
No. Because all it would do is mess me up and I'd accidentally switch guns and stuff, yeah. There's just no reason to. Yeah.
So I recommend the Nate Gibson keybind for weapon swap, which is the number 2. It's very close. It doesn't interrupt any other keybinds. I think it might by default, but it's pretty easy.
Why not just leave it at 1? It's already default at 1 to switch.
It's because it's farther from your middle finger. Because when you want a weapon swap, you're in trouble. Or when you want to reload cancel, which is why you have a weapon swap keybind in danger, you're in trouble, so you want to move as little as possible, so you use number 2. I literally asked Nate Gibson about this during MDub, because that was my first KBAM FPS. I was like, what do you use for weapon swap? He's like, yeah, I used to use number 1, but like, it's a little too far and it fucked me up sometimes, so I changed it to 2, and I really like that. So then I copied it, and I love it.
Interesting.
If you're already used to the number 1, that's fine. But if you're using scroll wheel, that's not fine. That's the biggest point. Don't use it for anything.
Do you take your middle finger off W to press 2?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's why I use my ring finger, and so then I can keep moving and not to take my finger off W. That feels way more natural to me, I think. But yeah, it's just because I'm used to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just unbind everything from your dumb scroll wheel.
Yep.
Like scrolling it, yeah. Pressing it's fine.
Yeah. Yes, pressing it's fine. Lethal's a really good bind to use pressing it for. Because then you can move WAS and D. So anyway. Also for keyboard and mouse, there is a setting for zoom/toggle shared input. And what this does is if you're using a scope that has two settings, so like like the 4 to 8 or the 3 to 6, where you zoom in, you press a button, you zoom in 6x, you press it again, you go back to 3, any variable zoom scope. This is a shared input with melee, or excuse me, with sprint by default. That is not a good use of that behavior. You can change this to be shared with melee, because the problem with using sprint is that when you ADS and you try to switch your zoom level, your character will start sprinting instead of changing the zoom level, and you've wasted a lot of time doing that. But you're never going to want to both aim down sight with a variable zoom scope and melee something at the same time. This is never something that happens ever. So using melee is really good as that bind, because worst case scenario, you melee the air, and that really rarely happens to me. So I strongly encourage, go to your settings, zoom/toggle shared input. Change this from sprint, which is default, to melee/finishing move keybind. You did this recently, right?
Yeah, because for me, it's like if you're not fully aim down sight or fully unaimed down sight, you go to start sprinting and then you'll accidentally change your zoom level on your scope when you're trying to move, or vice versa. You're like trying to move and then you press it and it's just very frustrating, and it makes variable zoom scopes like actually unusable, in my opinion, unless you change that setting. Yeah, so you don't want it tied to your sprint button at all. It's horrible.
Yeah. Next, switch weapon minimum delay 0. So there's a setting called switch weapon minimum delay, and by default it's not at 0. It's at something higher than that, so that if you like accidentally press the button, you have that amount of time to press it again and your character won't switch weapons at all. This is bad because when you want to reload cancel, you don't want any delay. And so you want this at 0.0. It'll save you more time. I don't know. I do know why this isn't 0.0 by default, but it's not good. You want it at 0.0. Now, when you press weapon swap, you will immediately start swapping. Yeah. So that means your reload cancel, actually reload cancel, I think would be the same time, but your weapon swap is faster. And that's really important. If you're like sniping, you get rolled up on, you won't have to incur that like 30-second delay. Because think about it. If you have switch weapon delay, and you need to switch weapons and start shooting someone right away, you literally are nerfing your time to kill by whatever that value is.
Yeah.
It should just always be on 0.0.
I don't even know what mine's on, honestly. I haven't looked at that setting in so long.
Yeah, it's probably on 0. But anyway. Next, interface in the settings. HUD bounds. There's a vertical HUD bounds and a horizontal HUD bounds. What this means is where your minimap is on your screen, where your health bar is, your plates, your cache, your compass, all of that shit, everything on your heads-up display. This determines where on your screen it's located. If you put the slider all the way to the right, then everything will be on the edge of your screen so that you see like more of what's in front of your character, but you have to look farther away from the center of the screen to look at the minimap or something. This is a tip I got from Jake. You should set both of these to 0.0, which will bring everything as close to the center as possible. It's still very far from the center of your screen. You can still see everything you need to see in front of you, and your eyes have to travel less to glance at the minimap, glance at your health, glance at your lethals, etc. It looks kind of weird, and if you have OCD, it'll annoy you for a while, because it's like there's this random part of your screen to the left of your minimap that's just blank. And then your minimap is like closer to center. but it's still worth it because if you're a good player and if you're aspiring to be one, you should be looking at your mini map a lot. And all those little glances are going to be way easier and save you some time. And it just makes it more convenient for you having all that information as close to your stupid fucking eyeballs as possible. Do you have these at 0?
I don't know if they're at 0, but I brought mine in. Yeah, you need it more when you have larger monitors or if you're playing on a massive TV or something. Then it definitely helps. On like a 24-inch monitor, I didn't really feel the need to bring it in, but I have a 27-inch monitor now, and definitely it's a lot better having that HUD brought in, so you don't have to look around as far. Yeah, it's very helpful.
Yeah. Yes. Almost done with settings, boys. Next. Let's see. Motion blur. Turn it off.
Yeah, please.
There are 2 separate motion blur settings. I don't know what they're for, world and like gun or some shit. Turn them both off. You're just ruining your visibility for absolutely no reason. Both motion blurs should be off. In addition, there's a setting right next to it called depth of field. This should also be off. Depth of field basically is like when you're ADS'd, everything not in your sight picture looks like blurry because you're like zoomed in or whatever.
It's like a realism thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for immersion. Terrible for being good. You want depth of field off so that everything outside of your sight picture is super clear and looks normal so that if someone's running around in the peripheral, you can see them more easily. Turn all of that shit off. Depth of field, both motion blurs.
Yeah, it's just essentially making things more blurry for you to not notice and see as quickly as you otherwise would if those settings were off. So if you're like spinning around and moving or something, some guy's in a corner, you may not see him if you have motion blur on, because as you're zooming across over his body, it's going to be slightly blurry because it's motion blur, right? Whereas if that's off, that picture is going to be a lot more clear and you're a lot more likely to spot things you otherwise wouldn't. So this is another thing like the mini-map. There's an alarming number of people that play with motion blur on. We've had more than 2 gameplay breakdowns people have submitted with motion blur on. Absolutely turn that shit off always. The only time maybe you want motion blur on is if, again, you're playing a single-player game and want to feel more immersed. Otherwise, motion blur stays off.
Yep. That simple. And then next on a similar topic, camera movement. There's an option for camera movement. Make that as low as possible, which is called least 50%. Camera movement refers to how much screen shake you get when you're getting cluster striked, for example. So you're in a building, they cluster it, the bombs hit, your screen rattles around. By default, this is not at 50%. It's at like 75% or something. The less screen shake you have, the easier it is to see things and shoot things, the better. If you could turn this to 0%, I would tell you to do that. Unfortunately, you can't. Cringe. So have camera movement as least as possible, which is 50%. This is a setting that most people would have if they knew it existed. Many of you probably don't, but that is a setting. Go into your options. Wherever motion blur is, I think it's in graphics maybe or interface. You can find it. Just look around. Camera movement least 50%. This is obvious. You can see things better this way. And then last tip for settings, controller vibration, turn that shit off too. I get it. It's immersive. It's fun. You feel like you're getting shot in real life or something. I don't know. But having vibration on your controller does nothing for you. It only negatively affects you.
Yeah.
It's never a benefit to have controller vibration on. And when would your controller vibrate? Well, at the worst fucking possible time it could vibrate, right? When you're being shot. So you're just like making it harder for you to aim your gun at the worst possible time you could ever make your gun or aim worse, which is when you're being raped. So controller vibration, turn it off. It'll feel weird for a little while. I don't care. Get used to it. Controller vibration does not help you. It only hurts you. Turn it off.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. So those were the settings. We are done with the settings now. Those are all, once again, not negotiable unless we said otherwise. Do all of it. It will just help you. Everything we talked about to change is only good. There are no downsides unless otherwise stated. Change all of them. It's not an option. You will play better. It might take some getting used to. You might do worse for your first couple games because you're getting used to having auto deploy off, for example. But in the long run, after a day, these are going to help you and your KD will be a little higher as a result. I literally promise you, because every setting we talked about, it's only upside to turning it off or changing it. So now we're going to get into not settings, gameplay stuff. Okay. Couple things off the bat, and these are in no particular order, but we're going to go through our tips for actually playing the game, not just things at the main menu. Learn how to slide cancel. This is a tip most people already know about. I would venture to say even most average players, but not every average player. There's something called slide canceling. It's basically where your character slides and then you're immediately sprinting after the slide rather than staying in the slide motion. If you slide without slide canceling, your character will slide for a long time, slow down, and then at the end of the slide, you'll just be crouched. Then you'll be duck walking. This is slow. Really slow. And you're a very easy to target to shoot if you're moving slowly. So you want to learn how to slide cancel because sliding makes you move faster and it like resets your sprint, your tactical sprint timer.
Whereas otherwise there's a delay on your tactical sprint, which is the faster version of sprint. This is essentially breaking it and making it so you can constantly, after you come out of a slide, you have your tac sprint again and can continue to move fast, and you keep doing that over and over again. That's the fastest way to get around the map.
Yes, and speed is what you want. And in addition to that, being able to just move around more quickly, slide cancel is also good because it's harder to shoot someone who's constantly slide canceling around everywhere.
Yep.
You're way easier to track and kill if you're just sprinting than if you're slide canceling constantly. You're a much harder target to hit. Yeah. So slide canceling for those reasons this is a required skill. If you learn how to slide cancel and just do it constantly, your KD will go up if you weren't doing that before. I literally promise you, if you're listening and you don't slide cancel right now, if you just learned how to slide cancel and then did it always, your KD would literally go up by like 0.05. I'm actually not kidding. Like if you changed nothing else but started slide canceling and you weren't before, your KD would go up because people who would have otherwise killed you wouldn't have gotten the kill on you.
Yeah.
I actually think it's that simple. It's an extremely valuable skill for Warzone with how much running you have to do, especially on Caldera. So you really want to learn how to slide cancel. There are a million YouTube videos teaching how to slide cancel. And there are really good tips for controller and for keyboard and mouse. But the short version is while you're sprinting, you press your slide button, you press your slide button again, then you press your jump button. Done. That's how you slide cancel. You'll know you did it correctly if your character slides, and then after, he is again standing up and sprinting.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's too hard to explain pretty much, but you watch a video and you'll understand. So that's your homework if you didn't know what it is. And actually, I think a lot of people they maybe heard of slide cancel, but most people I play Warzone really probably don't know how to do it. That's another way to tell if someone is going to be a sweat or not, is if you see someone out in the distance, they're slide canceling into the house constantly. Oh, this guy's going to be sweaty. If you just see him sprinting up for 10 seconds straight, not moving, you say, okay, this guy's not going to be a sweat lord. So that's something you should definitely learn to do. It really helps you move around the map, especially with the stim boost we have now. If you pop a stim and you can slide cancel twice during that, and you move so far. That's the most I've been able to do is two slide cancels, and I mean you move 40 feet in half a second. It's absurd, actually.
Yeah, it's really good. This should be for everything we talk about today. If you don't slide cancel now, this will be the biggest tip for you that will improve your game the most. You'll move more quickly, you'll get into zone sooner, you'll get to the buy sooner, and you'll be harder to hit. This is going to be a really, really huge game-changing, actually massive improvement of your own gameplay. If you're not already doing this, this is the most important thing you should take away from this episode, is you need to immediately learn how to slide cancel and then practice it and do it always, all the time.
Yeah.
So there you go. Slide cancel.
These things you can practice in like Modern Warfare multiplayer too, by the way. So if you have that sucker installed, load up a private match on Speedball or something and just run around practicing these things.
Yes.
You can do all that there.
Yeah. Next is a little more advanced, and this is far less crucial than slide canceling, but it's still a good skill to have. But this is like, if slide canceling was like your homework, this next tip is your extra credit. Okay, if you're a little nerd, an honor student, AP fucking nerd, and you want to go above and beyond, in addition to learning how to slide cancel, you should learn how to b-hop, also called bunny hopping. This is something you can do in Warzone. It is harder than slide canceling. I would say it's a lot harder than slide canceling. And there are only like certain guns you can do it with. But basically what it is let's say you're behind a building, you know someone is to the left of the building, you want to challenge them and shoot them. You can sprint, jump, and then as you land, you jump again, and then you do a little B-hop. That's the bunny hop. So you jump like twice. This is very good because even though from your perspective, it doesn't look like you're moving that much, from the enemy perspective, all that vertical movement changing makes you fairly more difficult to hit.
Yeah.
And if you can even force the other player to miss one bullet, you have drastically increased your odds of winning that gunfight, let alone 2 or 3 or 4. So B-hopping's a really good skill. You can't do it with every gun. The more mobile the weapon, the more easily and effectively you can B-hop. But you can't B-hop with an HDR. It's like not possible. Your character doesn't move fast enough to do it.
I feel like it's very easy to do with the Swiss for some reason. I don't know why that is, but for me, the Swiss has always been the easiest thing to B-hop with and hit that and, get that little bounce. And yeah, it works great for like going around corners, but that's definitely a way more advanced thing to do. It also just, like a slide cancel, once you learn how to do it, you can do it every single time easily. Bunny hop is actually just, you have to get lucky. There's not a whole lot of skill involved always. I feel like sometimes it just straight up doesn't work, so...
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to hit it consistently. The upside, though, is that if you're trying to B-hop something, if you fuck it up, it's not the end of the world. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, like, failing a B-hop's never going to get you killed. So, worst case scenario, you jump peek the corner instead of B-hop peek the corner. Not that big of a deal. But it's a really good skill to have, and it is definitely more challenging. This is more of an advanced tip, to be sure. But there are also many videos on YouTube on how to B-hop. It's worth practicing and getting used to because there are times where this will get you a kill when you otherwise wouldn't have gotten it. This is a good thing to have in your toolbox, and you can use it often.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Next tip. This is specifically for the average player. When you're using your full auto weapon, I'm curious. I don't know how useful this tip is going to be because I don't know how many average players are trying this. But if your KD is not 1.8 or higher, and you're using anything but a sniper, stop going for headshots. There's no reason for it. There are reasons to land headshots, but if you're not really good, there is no reason for trying to land headshots. Because getting one headshot and then one miss with any gun, except a sniper, is a lot less damage than landing 2 stomach or upper chest or neck shots.
Exactly.
Stop using your Cold War AK at 50 meters and aiming at their head. Because all it's going to do is you might land 1 or 2 headshots, but you're going to miss way more bullets, and therefore your time to kill is going to be slower. Aim for the sternum with your automatic weapons. This is especially true up close, but I think it applies always to every gun an average player is using, except a sniper. Stop going for headshots.
Yeah.
We've talked to like Jake, and Jake is like, yeah, Jake Down is a member of our Discord. His weekly KD is probably 5.0 or something in Warzone, so he's very good. He's also on keyboard and mouse, which is another important point. And one thing he was telling me was like, yeah, I really like this health change because it gives me the time with the increased health to actually aim for the head when I'm using my XM4. And that is allowing me to gap kids a lot, skill gap kids a lot. And he told me that, and I was like, that's really cool. That makes sense. Guess what I'm not doing? Doing that.
Yeah, going for
not
headshots.
Me. I'm not 22 years old with a 5.0 weekly Warzone KD. I'm 30, and my Warzone KD on Caldera is like 1.85 or something. I'm not good enough to be going for headshots. That's going to make my time to kill slower because I'm trash, and I'm going to have a slower time to kill going for headshots because I'm just going to miss more bullets. And if I aim for the sternum instead, I won't be getting the headshot multiplier, but I'll be landing more of my bullets. Am I going to die to Jake because he is aiming for headshots and I'm only aiming for sternum? Yes, I am. But here's the kicker. I'm dying to Jake anyway. So it doesn't matter. Therefore, aim for the sternum unless you're extremely good. What are your thoughts on this, Tanner?
Yeah, that's another thing I think more than that too is just so many people, their centering can be so bad. Yeah. And so you end up like shooting people in the foot. And for most guns, you're going to do less damage to like a foot than you do to like an upper chest or something like that. So, you know, you need to make sure to just aim up higher in general. Also, there is a neck multiplier in this game, and so even if you're not hitting headshots, if you're hitting upper chest, a few of those bullets will get mixed in with the neck multiplier, which does like
the head sometimes
quite a bit more damage than just a chest shot. So it's good to go for those. So just, you know, do your best to not aim at their feet. Get used to getting that aim up a little bit higher. Aim, yeah, center mass, upper chest is the most ideal thing, and you'll accidentally mix in a neck shot or a headshot without you even trying or noticing. And you'll win more gunfights that way.
Because guns recoil up, yeah. Do you go for headshots with full auto guns?
It depends on the distance. If it's close range and I get caught with an AR out where I should have like an SMG, then yeah, absolutely. Certain guns I definitely go for it more than others. Cold War AK, EM2. Like the XM4, the headshot multiplier isn't that much better. So I usually will like start, say, shooting them in the chest, but since it's so easy to control too, and it takes a decent amount of bullets to kill on Caldera with 300 health, in that time I can move up to their head, and if they're close enough, I can, you know, consistently hit headshots because the recoil is so manageable. Versus like an EM2 past, you know, 20 meters, it's hard to consistently hit headshots because the recoil is a lot stronger. So it just depends what gun I'm using. I definitely focus on it more with certain weapons than others, and it's at the distance too.
Yeah, but a crucial thing to take away from that, if you're listening and you're average, is Tanner's Warzone KD is like 2.5, and he's been playing FPS for 20 years. So you're not that good. You're not good enough to ever be going for headshots. I genuinely believe you should never go for headshots with a full auto gun if you're a sub 2.0 KD. Never. You're always going to have a slower time to kill.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And I apply this to myself. I never go for headshots unless I'm sniping. I aim upper chest. Like Tanner said, guns recoil up. So when I aim for upper chest, I'm getting some headshots. I'm getting some neck shots. So I'm still getting some of those multipliers. But most importantly, I'm maximizing how many of my bullets land anywhere on the target.
Yeah.
So stop aiming for headshots unless you're really good.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you go. And that leads to another point Tanner mentioned, which is centering. This is something we talk about a lot in our gameplay breakdowns. So I'll briefly go over this. Centering refers to where your reticle is pointing when there are no enemies around that you know about anyway, and you're just moving around doing shit. Warzone is a BR where you have to loot things and you have to look down to loot things. So this is a particularly nasty habit that even really good players have in Warzone, which is dog shit centering. If you're just moving around and you're looking at people's cocks, your centering is at their cocks, then when you get surprised, when someone peeks a corner on you and they're ready for you and you're aiming at their cock, guess what? You're dead. Smile. You also see less of the game when you're looking down like that, when your centering is bad, because you're not seeing as far on into the horizon as someone with good centering who's moving around, always having their reticle at upper chest level. And also, if you don't get surprised by someone, let's say you see someone running around who has no idea you're there, but they're getting close to being out of your line of sight, they're about to run behind a rock. If I'm aiming at dick level, first of all, they might not be on my screen, and they would be if I had good centering. Or if they are on my screen, I now have to travel more with my aim before I can start shooting them, wasting time. This is, anyone can have good centering. It requires absolutely no skill. It is trivially simple to do, but it's very hard because it's a really difficult habit to constantly have good centering, especially in Warzone, where you're always having to look at the ground, pick the thing up, recenter.
Yeah.
It's annoying. I get it, but it will help your gameplay a lot. And Tanner had a really good point when we were talking about centering last, doing a gameplay breakdown, which was go play Counter-Strike or Valorant for an hour and you'll immediately notice how important centering is.
Yeah,
which is true.
Because you
always want to be aiming like upper chest.
You want to have your reticle ready at the height that person is going to appear on your screen when they run around a wall. So if you know they're on the other side of the building and you're aiming at knee level down low, they're going to run around. They're going to win that gunfight on you because they're aiming at your upper chest, your neck, your head, and you're just not going to kill them as fast. You have to prepare for where the person's going to be and be already aimed at that specific height before they come into your picture. This is big on Rebirth and Caldera both. But yeah, you'll especially notice this in Counter-Strike. Yeah, you will not win a gunfight ever unless you're ready to go aim directly at their head and can one-tap them. Now, obviously, yeah, different for Warzone. You can't one-tap with like an AR or something like you can in Counter-Strike, but games like that really help with your centering. So if you play on KBAM and aren't good with it and have games like that or something, go play them for a little bit. You'll quickly get used to where you need to be centered for where people are going to appear, like when they come around the corner of a building or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely less important in Warzone than it is in Counter-Strike.
Oh, for sure.
But it's still quite important in Warzone, and you want to always have good centering. And it's so simple to do. Literally anyone can do it, no matter how bad you are, that there's no excuse not to do it. Just get used to it. Pick the thing up, recenter, upper chest. You'll see more of your screen. I think that's the biggest benefit for Warzone, honestly. Because you'd be surprised at how bad your centering is, listener. Yes, you. Go look at your last gameplay before you heard this tip. Look at where your character is on average aiming his gun at kneecap level. And also, if someone runs in front of you, you're going to get less aim assist. Because if I'm aiming at chest level and someone runs past my screen, I'm going to get way stickier aim assist and way more help landing shots than if I'm aiming at the knee, because I'll get more drag if I'm already aiming at your chest. So get good centering. And that leads to another point that we got from a gameplay breakdown we did recently, which you can find on youtube.com/the Dropshot podcast, by the way. If you want to play slow, that's fine, but never move slow. So what that means is playing slow would be like how Iron plays, or OP Marked sometimes plays, which is where you take your time, you're very meticulous, you hold strong positions for a long time, you're very methodical, every movement is well thought out, and you're just not chasing kills or moving around the map, being an ape very much. That's playing slow. If that's how you enjoy playing, that is perfectly fine and very viable. But that doesn't mean move slow. And by move slow, I mean literally that. Taking your character from point A to point B slowly. Don't do that. Don't crouch walk ever. Almost ever. Don't crawl almost ever. Don't regular sprint. Don't, just tack sprint. Slide cancel, tack sprint, slide cancel. If you want to play slow, that's fine, but eventually you're going to have to move your character. And when you decide where your next point is, go quick. Yeah. Move fast. You're going to be harder to shoot if you're moving fast. You're going to get to safety sooner. And you always want to be the first mover. There is almost never a reason to move slowly other than you need to move slow so that someone doesn't hear you. That's the only time you'd really want to move slow. And that situation is extremely rare anyway on Caldera.
Yeah, very rare.
So really, there almost is never a time where you want to be moving slow. Play slow all you want, but once you know where you're going next, get there as quickly as you possibly fucking can, which means slide canceling and tack sprinting. Go ahead.
The best thing that works for me is I've gotten better at doing this lately from playing Tarkov. Always assume someone has a Swiss aimed directly at your head and they're about to shoot you when you're in the open. Because there probably is that person.
True.
Don't just, regular sprint in a straight line. Once you get the slide cancel down and you're better at movement, you want to just never run in a straight line. You want to go back and forth, slide cancel. It'll throw someone off that very well may be watching you from a very long distance away, behind you or something, to the side of you. You have no idea that person is there. Always assume they are. That's why you don't move slow. It's why you don't crouch walk around. That's the number one way also to spot a bot. If you see someone pushing into a building and you're sniping and they're crouch walking up to the door, this guy's going to be dog shit. You have more of an advantage if you just rush in and be loud most of the time and throw them off guard than crouching, because eventually they'll hear a door open or something and then you'll just be an easy, simple target crouched in the middle of a room. So exactly. You're actually never move slow in Warzone ever. You always want to be moving around. This may be less of a thing come season 3 in a couple weeks when we're going to get some nerfs to snipers. But for sure, always assume someone's about to take your head off and just be moving around constantly, nonstop.
This applies to when you're like sniping too. So like, let's say you're in a really powerful position on the roof of a building inside the circle, and you're just kind of super safe, looking around everywhere, trying to see enemies. Okay. You should never be still. Like, you should literally never be still. If you're sniping and you're just like, maybe you're on the edge of zone holding the roof of a building and you're looking for people who are rotating in. Don't just stand still, scoped in, looking around.
Such an easy target.
You're free. You're so free. If someone's standing still, you're the easiest fucking headshot on earth. You always want to be moving, even if it's a little bit. I don't mean like jump off the roof and back on. I mean literally just strafe side to side. Crouch, stand, strafe side to side. always be moving in some capacity 100% of the time. You should never, ever be still.
Yeah.
Because there is a sniper you don't see, and he's waiting for you to stop moving to look at that Snapchat you just got. And you're dead.
Yep.
Free, see ya. Because if you're always moving around and some guy's waiting for you to stand still, but you never do, he's eventually going to go for it. And then he's probably going to miss. And now you know there's someone sniping you. And you might know where that shot came from. And now you have a really good chance of killing him because you're in the better position. Whereas if you're just standing still, dead.
Yep.
Never, ever be still.
You're so free. You're so
free fucking free.
Still. That's why I like using the Swiss with the Raider pad, because there's a lot of ADS mobility with that sucker.
The strafe's good,
yeah. And so that's why I like that sniper a lot. Yeah, never stop moving.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, if you are playing slow, again, never move slow. And when you are moving, you always want to be by cover. Even if no one's around and you're sure of it, you're wrong. There is someone around and they're waiting for you to be out of cover. So don't ever be. If you want to like stop moving and hold a position and look around for people, you can do that, but do it by something. A tree, worst case scenario, a rock, a building, a bale of hay. Always be by cover if you want to stop moving. And if you're not by cover, you should be slide canceling and tack sprinting toward cover. Even if no one's around, there will be someone soon, and you'll be glad that you stopped moving to strafe and peek around by some piece of cover that you can use to save your life. You should never be like holding a position, even if you're like strafing around constantly and crouching and standing like we just talked about. If you're doing that and there's no cover around you, you're still free as shit. You're just probably not going to get one tap sniped. You're going to get absolutely beamed by a Bren instead. But if there's no cover, you're fucked. I don't care how much you're moving. It doesn't matter. You should never not be holding a position unless there's, or you should never be holding a position without some cover by you.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to do on Caldera too, because there's such little cover. There's little trees and it's not even wide enough for you to get behind, but.
True. But this applies also to elevation. So like, I would say if you're on top of like a mountain and there's like a cliff in front of you and there's no trees around you, that's still fine because you do have cover. You just back up and no one can shoot up at you.
Yeah.
That does count. But ideally, you'd want to be on that cliff and also with a rock behind you. Then you're real safe. So that's like best case scenario. But you always want to have some cover.
Yeah.
What is this next step, Tanner?
Okay. If you're in a gunfight, you need to get used to backing off if you need to plate up, even if you did a bunch of damage to the person. This is something you'll see pros do, Warzone pros. Very rarely do they continue to ego challenge someone. So often they'll back off, slide cancel as they're plating up, run away, confuse the other player, make a bunch of unnecessary noise by opening up a door and then shutting it, jumping through a window, going in through another door. Just confuse them for as long as possible to plate up. Because the gut reaction of the other person that's fighting you is when they see you run away, what are they going to do? They're going to chase you. They're not usually going to stop and plate up. They want your kill. They think you're just a pussy or something and are running away from them. So they're going to continue chasing you. You're going to eventually, once you're fully plated, you're going to stop. You're going to get back and challenge that gunfight again. And you're probably going to have more health than that person because I almost guarantee you they didn't bother plating up because they get caught chasing. Yes. Aiden is, I think, the best player in the world that I've seen doing this. The plays he makes just to plate up are out of this world, things I don't even think of doing, just to stay alive a little bit longer and get some plates in so he has more health. And then what does he do? Challenges the person again and wins every gunfight that way. So you need to get used to just backing off and being fully plated at all times. Stop peeking things you shouldn't if you're not fully plated. The only time I would say don't bother plating is if you are on a roof in Capital, you have a teammate on the roof with you, you guys both have self-res, you get sniped and you get downed, don't bother plating. just leave those plates off because you're probably going to get shot again and just waste them. In that instance,
headshot's a one shot down anyway.
Yeah, in that instance, don't plate up until you're leaving the building. If you have ways to get rezzed. If your teammate dies, then that's a different story. Just get off that building. But yeah, you need to really be paying attention to always being fully plated when you're taking these gunfights. Do not peek someone again and try to take the gunfight if you're not at absolute full health. You're gonna die.
Yeah, 100%. Very good tip for sure. And this is one of my problems too, because you like enter a building, there's a guy in there, you crack his plates, he doesn't crack yours, but he does some damage to you, and he starts running away. And it's like, okay, this guy's one shot. I'm going to chase because I know I have more health than him.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're really good. They did the Aiden strat Tanner just talked about, and then they have full health. I don't, and I die. But even more often than that, to me, is I thought there was just that guy around. I was wrong. And then that guy is still one shot because he's not Aiden, so he didn't bother plating up and going to like a 500 IQ position. So if it was just him, the push would have been maybe pretty good, but it wasn't. It's never just him. They're never alone. You were certain the building was empty and he was the only one in it. You were wrong. Smile.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden his teammates are they're just raping you and you're not full plates.
Yeah.
And if you were full plates, you would have been able to back out of that position and not die. This happens to me all the time. This is the most common way that if I push without full plates, I die, is to people I didn't know were there. Happens to me all the time. Just assume there's more than one person there, even if you're sure. You're wrong. That's why your KD is average, because your information's not good. You're positive there's only one guy in here?
Yeah.
What's your KD? 1.0? Hey, you're not right. You're probably wrong. There probably are more, man. And then you're going to get fucked by them. There's always more. So yeah, this is a great tip. Don't try to engage shit unless you're fully plated. And the exceptions to this are extremely rare. They do exist. For example, if it's 3v1 and there are only 2 teams left, and you literally know this because you're looking at the HUD that tells you how many players are left in the game, and your teammate is like, he's one shot, push, then do it. Yeah, that's correct. Because then you are positive there's only one guy. But outside of these scenarios, and you're probably not in top 2 very often anyway, are you? Because you're average. That's why we're doing this episode. Then yeah, be fully plated for sure. Great tip. Great tip. Next, about to get some Malders, I think. Hot take. Okay, hot take. If you're average and you really want to do better every game, stop sniping, period. Just stop sniping ever. Literally stop it ever. Delete the classes. Don't ever snipe again. If you're average and you want to perform better and you're mad that you're average, then what you should do first, delete all your sniping classes. Don't think about doing it. Don't ever do it again until your KD is 2.0 or higher. And then maybe you can snipe and you'll do better. But if you're average and you want to do better, don't snipe anymore because you're not good enough to do it. I apply this to myself, by the way. I will also add, if you play Warzone for fun and you really enjoy sniping, then you can do that. And as long as you accept that you're going to do worse sniping than you would if you were using an AR. If you tell me, yeah, hey, Raz, I know that using an SPR and a Cooper carbine, I'm just not going to do as well. I'm going to have a lower KD than if I was using an AR, but it's fun for me, so I'm going to keep doing it. Good for you. Then keep sniping. That's fine. But if you're fucking seething and malding that your KD isn't what you think it should be, then don't ever snipe again. You're not good enough to snipe. That's the point. So if you enjoy it, go ahead. But if you really want to do better, you shouldn't snipe anymore. You're not good enough to. use specifically a Cold War assault rifle. I'll give you a couple options. XM4, Cold War AK, Vargo, C58. Those are the only 4 guns you're allowed to use. If you're average and you're seething that you're not better. Those are the only 4 guns you're allowed to use as your primary. Here are the only attachments you're allowed to use. Axial Arms 3X, GRU Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Field Agent Grip Under Barrel, and then the 4th magazine in the list, which is going to be an extended mag. That's the only... Those 4 guns with those 5 attachments are the only thing you're allowed to use if you're average and you're mad about it. You'll do better. You'll do significantly better if you start doing this. And that's going to lead into our next point. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you agree?
Not with all of it, no. So to start with, I agree with the sniping. You know, the sweats always talk about in tournaments and shit, they want snipers banned because it's a one-shot down. The thing is, snipers are not easy to use for players that are not good. You see absolute sweat lords hitting these nasty clips with snipers.
Even harder on Caldera, too.
But it's pretty difficult to hit those shots. People don't give it enough credit. It's not easy to hit these sniper shots. Like, you guys listening don't have like a crazy high KD. You're going to miss a lot of sniper shots, and you would just be better off with an assault rifle at that point. So... they're pretty difficult to master. If you have trouble consistently hitting shots with a sniper, if you can't hit a headshot down 70% of the time you fire a shot, then stop sniping. Unless, like Raz said, unless you actually just want to have fun. They are fun to use. If you're trying to get better...
is crazy.
Well, exactly. So stop using them if you're not hitting that.
Yeah, okay. I guess. Sure.
Because you're not going to do good. So it is fun. If you want to have fun, then go ahead, have fun and use snipers. But it's not going to help you win. You'll notice people that drop the most kills and whatnot, they're not running snipers usually. Yeah. The next thing here, I think the reason, obviously, that so many people use a gun like a Cooper carbine or an auto is because they're so easy to use, and I think those ARs are better to use for lower skilled players that have trouble.
Since the Vargo exists, I don't think there's any reason to use these two. That's the only reason I said that I didn't include these.
Yeah, a lot of people won't ever unlock the Vargo, though. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
It's not just a gun. I mean, I didn't even want to bother unlocking it, so I saw videos and people were like, oh, it's pretty good. I'm like, motherfucker, I guess I unlock it. I would have never unlocked it otherwise. So they don't kill fast at range, but they're super easy to control. So, you know, you're going to end up hitting a lot more shots. You're not going to have a theoretical time to kill nearly as fast as like an EM2, a Cold War AK, but those guns are a lot harder to control. So you're going to end up hitting more shots, and for you, if you're a 0.5 KD player, that's going to actually in turn give you a faster time to kill because it's so easy to hit all of those shots.
Yes.
So especially if you're on console players know you don't have more recoil. It gives you that effect because the field of view is lower than you can have on PC. So it gives you the effect that you have a bunch more recoil. It's visual though. So that's why I think Vanguard ARs are solid options, especially for console players. They're so easy to control. You can use that variable zoom scope, the SVT40, which can zoom in up to 6 times. You can see a bunch of things. You won't hit a lot at that zoom level because it's a sniper scope on a fully automatic assault rifle, but it gives you more info and you can see people easier. Because I've seen a crazy amount of people recently claiming the XM4 is a hard gun to use. That's, in my opinion, the best and easiest assault rifle to use in Warzone. Really, but there are a lot of people that say even that gun has too much recoil. So if you're that person, use a Cooper carbine or an auto. They literally do not move at all.
I forgot the Bren. You can do that too. That has no recoil.
Yeah, the Bren also. So, I don't know. I would almost say start there. If you can control like a Cold War AK, though, or something like that, or an XM4, those are definitely your best options. But if you're having trouble and you notice you're missing a bunch of shots, then that is a reason to use the Vanguard assault rifles. I don't use them. I never will use them because the time to kill is too slow. But if you're having trouble, then just stick with those. I mean, the Cooper doesn't fucking move at any distance.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. So I would say if the XM4, the C58 and the Cold War AK have enough recoil to make you miss more shots than you think you should be, then try the Vargo. If you insist on not unlocking the Vargo, then go to the Bren. That's your next best option. That has very little, if any, recoil and a really good time to kill. That is probably where you would stop, because I can't imagine anyone can't control a Bren. But if you refuse to use the Bren, then you can go to an automaton or a coupe carbine. But I think if you're willing to unlock the Vargo, it's absolutely a better option than an automaton and a coupe. So I would do that if you're willing to, and it's extremely easy to control. That thing does not move. Farah too, actually, by the way. Pretty competitive time to kill now with the health change, and extremely easy to control.
Yeah, that is an
so
easy
there's another
one.
good option. But stop, don't try to use an EM2 if you're average. You're obviously not good enough, and certainly stop sniping. And by the way, on this sniping point, I apply this to myself. I snipe all the time. I'm not good enough to be sniping. I know I'd do better if I just always used an AR, but I'll snipe anyway because I accept that I would be doing better with an AR, but I choose not to anyway because I want to have fun. If that's you, go ahead. But just keep in mind, I'm not seething that my KD isn't higher than what it is. And if I was, I would recognize that I need to stop sniping because I'm not good enough to be sniping. I would do way better with an AR.
Yeah,
this applies to the vast majority of people, especially on Caldera, where it's way harder to snipe now. Longer sight lines, people are moving way more often. They're camping head glitches way less often, standing still. And with the flinch change as well, it's way more difficult to snipe now than it was on Verdansk as well. So there you go. And that leads to my next point, which is stop trying to be cute. Shit cans, average players love to do goofy shit that they think is big brain that is just wildly impractical and not good. We've heard these types of things happen all the time in Discord, where people will theory craft, people with a 0.6 KD will theory craft perks no one uses, guns no one uses, scopes, attachments no one uses, team compositions no one uses, and they will construct this fantasy where, okay, if my teammate runs snapshot, I run stun, third guy runs flashes, fourth guy runs gas grenades, that when we see a team in a building, we're gonna have teammate Charlie throw his thing, teammate Alpha throw his, and then it's gonna be perfect and synergistic. That is getting way too cute. That scenario, you'll literally never be in it. And when you're not in that scenario, you are wildly handicapping yourself, and you're already not a very skilled player. So now you're a not skilled player who's also using suboptimal guns, scopes, perks, equipment, and you're massively handicapping yourself for no reason because you think you have a huge brain and you're going to figure something out that Aiden and Huskers haven't figured out already. Stop trying to be cute. Stop doing goofy shit. Stop trying to be unique, original, or different. If, again, like the sniping point, if it's really fun for you to run snapshot grenades and you accept that you would have a higher KD if you just ran stims like everyone else, then go ahead and use snapshot grenades. But don't operate under the fiction that your KD is higher because you run snapshots instead of stims, because you're wrong. It's not.
Yeah.
Hey, great. You have fun using snapshots. Go ahead. Do it all you want. But just while you're doing it, accept that you're handicapping yourself on purpose and your KD will be worse because you're not using the best equipment. But if that's fun for you, go ahead and do it. But all the fucking crazy, goofy shit that only players who have 0.3 KDs think of, you guys are deluding yourselves. Stop trying to be cute. If you want to do as well as you possibly can, use what the best players in the world use and only those things, and you will do better. There's a reason the best players all use the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, you'll see them trying to make things like the Striker 45 or some dog shit like Modern Warfare SMG work. Like, oh no, it feels really good to me. It doesn't. There are 15 other SMGs that would be just as easy to use as some other trash one that no one runs for a reason and kill faster. So just stop. The meta's always figured out for you. You don't need to try to make these ridiculous gun setups. Again, that's fun for you. Okay, then go ahead, do that. But if you're actually like trying to get better and win, believe me, you're not going to find some meta gun that someone has somehow skipped over. You're just not. So stick to what everyone has already told you to do.
100%. Yeah. Have some humility, man. Like, if you're not that good, have some humility and accept that you should just do what everyone else does. You being original is not going to make you better. And a lot of people, this is kind of a psychological tip for you. A lot of players will use goofy shit to justify their low KD. So they'll be like, oh yeah, my Warzone KD is like 1.1, but that's only because I use non-meta fun guns that are worse than all the OP shit. And I know I would have a higher KD if I used all the meta broken guns. If you have fun using non-OP guns, that's fine. But there are some of you who do this, and you do it on purpose to delude yourself into justifying your own KD because you think it's not high enough and it doesn't reflect your skill as a player. Don't do this to yourself. Go to therapy. If your KD is whatever it is, that's fine, man. If you want to do better, use the best shit, and then your KD is still going to be lower than you think it should be, and that's okay. Accept it. But there are these people that exist, and they make me sad. They make me sad. But anyways, that is that. What is this next tip, Tanner?
Okay. Don't peek the same angle twice, especially with or against a sniper. If you're taking a fight, again, with or against an AR, usually against an AR, you know, you can peek a same corner twice and you're not just probably immediately going to get dumped. But if you see glint somewhere and you peek an angle, if you peek that same corner again, if the person is decent, your head's getting ripped off and you're absolutely dead.
Yep.
That's something you don't ever want to do. Even the slightest change in your angle will be enough to throw off the other player. You know, going in through, let's say you're at the bottom of a house, going upstairs and just peeking a window that may not even be that far away from where you were. That person
directly above where you were.
It may even be directly above. It's not a great spot to go, but if that person is going to hold that angle, you're going to maybe have the jump on them and be able to get that kill. You just don't. I see people doing this. I mean, I do this all the time. You get bored and you're like, I'm going to ego chow this guy. I have a sniper. I'm going to try to down him. What happens 50% of the time? I get absolutely dinked through my little head, you know?
Yep.
And so that's, you just stop doing that. You know, there are instances where you're kind of just screwed. Like there's, say in like fields, there's a lot of like little wooden shacks and shit. If you get behind those, then you either have to choose between peeking like the same angle, trying to run away from them, peeking the other side. If it's some small object, they're going to be watching both corners and you're going to get dinked. There are a lot of instances where what will throw off like an enemy sniper, enemy player is literally laying there, not doing anything for like 5 or 10 seconds. If they don't have a visual on you for that long, they're going to just be flabbergasted, man. They're going to be like, what happened to this guy? And know what they're going to do? They're going to drop their sniper. They're going to start pushing in, and you can get into a close range fight with them. Like literally doing nothing sometimes in that instance may be better than trying to run away from a sniper watching you or peeking the same angle twice. You just want to try to do weird things constantly to confuse the other player, which is again why I was saying Aiden was such a good player earlier. Is like he does that while plating up, just confusing the shit out of people, doing these weird little jumps, jumping out windows, going in through another door, running all the way through the house again. Whatever you can do to confuse the other person, you may confuse yourself doing it, and that's good because that means you're confusing the other player too. Just keep running, keep making these weird movements. Just don't peek the same angle twice. But often, like, people will become so impatient that they'll end up just pushing you. And if you're just absolutely stuck in the middle of nowhere, maybe just try doing nothing. That may be your best bet. They'll push up. You can get into a close range gunfight with them rather than just being one tapped by their car.
Yes. Excellent point. The main reason people will repeat the same angle twice is because they're just lazy or they don't think about not doing that. And I do this all the time. I mean, I know it's bad to repeat the same angle, and I'll do it anyway because I'm lazy. I don't feel like finding a different angle or moving to it, even if I know exactly where it is. And I get punished constantly for it, but I'm dumb and I constantly keep getting punished for it, and I know it's stupid to do. This is especially true against snipers, like Tanner was saying, but against anyone, if possible, you never want to peek the same. You never want to peek the same angle twice, no matter what gun the other person is using. If it was possible to never peek the same angle twice, that would always be optimal. Yeah. Sometimes it isn't possible, like Tanner was talking about, and then do what you can. But it's 90% of the time it's possible. And it's always better, no matter what the other person is doing or no matter what gun they're using. It is always better to not peek the same angle. It's really especially important against snipers, again, like Tanner was saying, but we did a gameplay breakdown of Raiden, and he demonstrated this exact principle against someone 10 meters in front of him using a full auto gun. And it's still true, even if they're not sniping. He peeked one angle, got some shots on, ducked back behind, re-peeked a different angle. The dude was literally caught in 4K pre-aiming the first angle.
He was just I think he had like an LMG. He was just chunking that thing at the first angle he peeked at. Yeah. And he's just long gone by that point.
And Raiden's inside of him fucking his ass because he re-peeked a different angle. It was a beautiful example of this principle, and it allowed him to get an actually free kill. You couldn't have messed it up.
Yeah.
It just by playing smart. Like, it wasn't even Raiden's insane aim or movement or anything that contributed to that kill. It was just him having a brain and using a very simple principle, which is don't peek the same angle twice.
Yeah. Excellent point.
And once again, you can check out that gameplay breakdown, youtube.com/the Dropshot podcast. Be sure to subscribe. It's free. And Oxford J in Twitch chat said at thedropshot.com/live, which is where we live stream each and every single podcast episode. While you're talking about peeking, don't say whilst. While you're talking about peeking, never slow peek a corner. It's the most frustrating thing to watch. Another excellent point. Never slow peek anything. There's absolutely no reason to do it. If someone is pre-aiming that corner and you slow peek it, you might as well be standing still because it's the easiest headshot if they're sniping. And if they're not sniping, it's the easiest bunch of AR shots they've ever hit. If you're going to peek something, commit to it. That doesn't necessarily mean wide peeking, where you jump 10 meters out from behind cover. But if you're going to peek something, even if you're not going to wide peek it, fully commit and immediately be ready to start shooting. But don't ADS at the wall and then start strafing out from behind the building all slow. That is begging to get shit on. It doesn't work. Do it fast. Again,
do everything fast.
Never moving slow. Never moving slow. That applies to peaks too. If you can B-hop, do it. Otherwise, just peek it quick, get shots on right away. But don't slow peek ever. That's another great point. I literally think there's never a reason to slow peek anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't think of an example where you'd want to slow peek something.
Yeah, this isn't fucking Tarkov. You don't want to ever slow peek a corner. You want to jump around that sucker or peek it real fast, get info maybe, and go from there. Depending on the scenario.
Yep. for sure.
But it's just a free kill.
So yeah, that's a good point, Ox, for sure. What's next here, Tanner?
Next up. Again, stims have received a buff. Heals you, gives you an insane movement speed buff. So one thing you'll see Warzone pros, really good players do a lot, which is pre-stimming as they're going up to a house. They know there's people in there they're about to fight. They'll pre-stim to get a movement boost. They'll slide through the door. They'll get that heal effect if they start getting shot right away. You listening? Stop. Don't do that. Don't try to do that ever. You're not a demon. You're not going to be able to even gain the benefits as a 8 KD pro player can out of that stim. If you're using stims, which you probably should be, you should save those suckers for when you actually need it. You'll get caught out in the open. You'll be one shot. And you can use that stim to, most importantly for you, heal. And number 2, get that speed boost to get away. The pros essentially use it for the speed boost, not the heals. You need to do the opposite.
Like
so
people,
there's a lot of things you can learn from watching pro players and really good Warzone streamers. That's something, there are a lot of things they do that you just shouldn't try doing because you're not that good yet, or you never will be that good. Probably never will be that good.
Probably never will be, yeah.
So save that sucker for the absolute split second that you start getting shot at, you start taking damage. By the time you're dumb old boomer brain reacts to that, you'll already be one shot. Pop that sucker, it'll keep you alive. You'll possibly be able to get away, played up, take that gunfight again. Pre-stimming is really fun to do, but ultimately, if you're not insane at the video game, don't try pre-stimming. Save it for heals.
Yep.
And make sure you always have one on you if you're running like restock or something. Don't just waste them for no goddamn reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with this. Yeah, like if you want to pre-stim to like camera someone and you have like a 0.9 KD, you're gonna fuck it up and then you just wasted a stim.
Yeah.
It's still not like bad to if you pre-stim because you know you're about to get shot and you're gonna get some heals, that's fine. That's maybe even a good thing to do. But you don't want to like pre-stim with the intention of like cameraing someone or something. And even then, I'm not sure if it's worth stimming. I would say it's probably not, honestly, because your capacity to judge whether or not it is worth pre-stimming in that particular scenario is probably not good enough to be doing it because you're average. The average player doesn't know when it's ideal to pre-stim a gunfight. That's one of the many reasons why you're average. Therefore, save it for when you're one shot and you're close to cover and you need some health and speed to get to the cover. Or when you need to run in from the gas because you're one shot because you didn't rotate soon enough and you're almost dead. These are things you should be using your stim for. Don't get cute. Don't get fancy. I agree. And that leads to our next point here, which is rotate early. We talk about this a lot, and it is especially true on Caldera, where it's very difficult to get into the circle, and where the circles are fucking terrible. As soon as you know where the next circle is, get inside of it. Literally as soon as you know. I think if you're average, that should just be it. Don't like, oh, but these guys are so close. Let me just kill them real quick. It's going to take you way longer to get that kill than you think it will, because this is why you're average. You're not a good judge of these things. You might die, period. And even if you do kill them, again, it's going to take you 2 minutes longer than you thought. And then you're both going to get camped to someone who had the brains and the humility to rotate early.
Yeah.
Rotate early. As soon as you know where the next circle is, get inside of it. And then you can start doing anything else. But I think if you're average, especially on Caldera, I wouldn't say this on Verdansk, but on Caldera, it's this simple. If your KD is 1.0 or lower, as soon as you know where the next zone is, be inside of it. Do nothing else until you're inside of it. Loot on your way there, but be quick about it. But don't be getting in gunfights outside of the next circle. As soon as you know where it is, go inside. Do you agree?
100%. I think you're better off just landing in the zone most of the time. If you die rotating a lot, just land in the circle, and you'll have better chances of not having to just constantly run into the zone every single time. Just less running, less dumb ways for you to die from getting held, etc.
Yeah. Because getting held, and this is again something we talked about recently, when I'm getting carried by, Jake, Cope, Lag, Tanner, whatever, very good players, and we get held where someone's in the zone, in the circle, we are not, and gas is at our back, we still die 70% of the time we get held. And this is with a demon squad. How do you think you're gonna do with your 0.8 KD and your buddies from work? You will never win.
Yeah.
Getting
Stop
held,
playing with coworkers.
ever.
There's another tip. Your coworkers are shit at the game.
Your real life friends are not good enough at video games to be played with if you're trying to get better. That's another great point. But yeah, you will 100% of the time be held successfully. Don't try it. Just get inside. Avoid it. Yeah, for sure. What is this next point, Tim?
Okay, we haven't really talked about the perks so much. I don't know if we will a whole lot, but one thing, this is pretty much for Caldera. If you run Combat Scout as your yellow perk, it's really going to help you see people and track people very easily. If you do damage to someone, if you shoot someone, their character model is lit up a color, orange or some shit, yellow, they're bright, it's noticeable. And that's going to help you track people as they move. If that's something you struggle with, aiming, not being, kind of losing track of your targets if they're moving quickly, Combat Scout's going to put you in a situation where you can see people more easily and then, maybe get a kill that you otherwise wouldn't because you're not the best at tracking and you just lose people in bushes or whatnot. Or, even if you shoot someone and they start running around the building, it's going to give you a lot of info on where that person's going and is going to be beneficial. Them. Yeah, that's true. And it pings them for your whole team. So that's just, I think that's a good perk to run, especially for the yellow perk, because there's nothing better to run at this point on Caldera, especially. So run that sucker. You'll see a lot of people.
100% agree. And this tip applies to everyone, not just average players. Even the best players should be running Combat Scout. They do.
Yeah.
That's why. Because it's really fucking good. Especially on this map. Amped is less important than it used to be, because there are no buildings anymore, so you don't need the weapon swap speed. Combat Scout is insanely good. You should be running it, period. And on all the other perks, I'll repeat what I've been saying. Don't get Q. Find your favorite Warzone professional and copy his class. Not only his perks, but his class. Every lethal, tactical, weapon attachment, fucking reticle, camo, and perks. Copy all of them because they know what they're doing and you don't. And most of them, if not all of them, probably not all of them, but most of them are running Combat Scout. If they're running Amped, it's because they go for 40 bombs and they're constantly inside people and they need really fast weapon swap speed. Hey, that's not you. No. You don't need Amped. You do not need Amped on this map. So run Combat Scout, run Cold-Blooded. Red perks, stop running High Alert. You can't extract any value out of it anyway. Plus a bunch of people are running Cold-Blooded, which doesn't ping High Alert. So High Alert is a terrible option for an average player. I would say it's a middling option even for the best players. It's not that good in a Cold-Blooded meta. You should be running Restock with stims, and you will have a lot more heals, and you'll be a lot more tanky. So run Cold-Blooded, Restock, and Combat Scout, and that's it. You're not allowed to change your perks.
And stop running
to do well.
Stop running Tracker. I see so many low skill players running Tracker all the time in kill cams.
Mind if you're running
I get it sounds good, especially like multiplayer, that someone leaves behind a footprint trail. But in like Warzone, half the time an enemy's pushing into a building in front of you. You're pushing into a building. When is Tracker going to benefit you? You know they were there anyways. What is that going to do to benefit you at all? You don't need to see their footsteps that last 2 seconds on the ground. Just stop. I don't know why so many people run this. Do not run Tracker. It is a waste of a perk.
Dude, even in multiplayer, I remember when MW came out, like I tried to experiment with Tracker.
Yeah.
And even in multiplayer, it's fucking useless.
Well, it sounds good on paper, but it's like very often in multiplayer too, are you following someone and getting valuable information? You guys spawn on opposite sides of the map. You're coming together in the middle. You don't really need to see footsteps.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
For sure. Yeah. I've literally never once gotten helped by having tracker. This includes when I pick up specialist in Warzone. It includes when I experimented with it in multiplayer. I'm not exaggerating and I'm not kidding. Literally 0 times for the hours that I've had tracker on my character and I have been using it across different Call of Duty titles even, it has helped me 0 times.
Yeah.
Literally 0 times in any game mode. So yeah, don't use fucking tracker, obviously. Yeah, don't do that.
Yep.
Next, Tanner.
I think we're at the point in Warzone now in general where if you're new to the game, probably don't play Caldera at all ever. Just stick to Rebirth. It's easier for you to learn. It's easier for you to play. Rebirth has like both extremes. A lot of really, really, really bad players on Rebirth and a lot of really, really, really good players. But, you know, if you're that bad, you'll get stuck against the bad players anyways, and it'll be more even fights for you.
Yeah, true.
But Rebirth is a really good way to get better at the game. It helps with your reaction times because you have to move a lot quicker and try to get away from enemies. It helps you with your aiming because you're getting in way more gunfights. With Resurgence, you can respawn, and it's not as bad as you looting for 15 minutes on Caldera, dying to some sweat, and then losing your gulag and then being out of the game. You're not going to get any better that way. Rebirth, you're really going to just be in constant gunfights, and you're going to learn so many little things to get better. So that's the number one thing. And I think, yeah, there's just so many clips of people that are, let's just say, not good come from Rebirth. I would stick to that. You'll eventually get better playing that more than you would on Caldera. Way more instances to, you know, work on the things you're not good at.
Yeah, you put yourself in positions, which is like basically gunfights that are not multiplayer gunfights, but you're getting them at a frequency that you would get by playing multiplayer. So you're going to get in as many gunfights playing Rebirth Resurgence as you will playing Shoot House 24/7. But the difference is in Rebirth, you have armor plates and you have to loot. And so you're getting practice with the time to kill of Warzone, roughly speaking. I know there's a 50 health difference, but that'll change soon anyway. When to plate versus when to like run away versus when to reload versus to switch weapons. You're getting all of the crucial Warzone gunfighting skills way more often in Rebirth than you will in Warzone, and you'll get those skills in Rebirth that you won't get in multiplayer because the time to kill is way faster. There are no plates. There's kill streaks. The meta is totally different as a result of that. So Rebirth is absolutely the best way to get better at Caldera. 100% of the time. Yeah. There are some skills you won't get by playing Rebirth that you need to do well in Caldera or regular Warzone. But if you're an average player, your problem isn't like good rotations, looting, and contract efficiency. Your problem is shooting your gun and being shot at by guns. So Rebirth is what you want. That's a very important skill. And if you're really good at gunfights, you can figure out pretty fucking easily how to do the rest of the important Warzone shit. I mean, there's a reason Shroud, if he played Warzone tomorrow, he would win a couple games. He doesn't have any Warzone skills well, he does
could win
actually.
With a kilo.
He actually could, because if you can shoot your gun really well and you know when to plate, when to push, when not to, and you can aim, that's by far the most important skill. And that you will be able to practice on Rebirth. So that's a great tip for sure.
Yeah. Also, if you don't have that great of aim, Rebirth is just going to be better for you anyways, because your aim assist is working way better up close at a 10-meter fight than it does trying to shoot someone 200 meters away on Caldera. So you're going to find some benefit there too.
Yeah. What's this next tip, bud?
This is the last tip I have. We've talked about this a lot, Raz especially. Watching Warzone streamers will really help you get better at the game. As I was just saying, there's certain things that they'll do that you really shouldn't, like the pre-stimming and stuff. You're not good enough to take advantage of that. But eventually, maybe, you'll get a little bit better at the game. And more than that, you'll just pick up on basic habits that they have that you could easily be doing. Centering, which is one of them we talked about. Plating up constantly, one of them we talked about. And just pretty much the movement and how to take gunfights, I think, is the best thing you can take away from them. It's not going to make your aim any better watching Warzone streamers, but just watching them make these nasty plays over and over again. Gets your head thinking, you're like, oh shit, I could do that myself. Like, that's not hard to do. That's just something I need to kind of get in the habit of, you know, like running away from people and plating up like this before I take this gunfight. And you'll end up learning so much that way and getting better. So you're going to find a lot of benefit there. You know, you won't be able to take advantage of so much of it, but you will find very basic things they do. You'll pick those up. You'll get in the habit of doing it. Rotations, maybe taking cars, going for balloons instead of, you know, going 100 meters out of your way to get the balloon to then get into the zone faster rather than just running straight in or something. A lot of little habits to learn that you'll pick up on really quickly.
1,000%. And a side note on this, it is much better to watch a live stream than to watch a YouTube video. Okay. Streamers, when they have, many of them have YouTube channels and they have videos, and their videos are compilations of their most crazy, insane plays and all that shit, and the highlights, basically. And you can learn things from these videos for sure. But when you watch them live streaming, you see how they play all the time, and you see their average game, and that is going to show you the boring shit they wouldn't put on YouTube that is still really important. So, for example, what they do in the gulag. They're not going to put them winning a gulag in a YouTube highlight montage. But that's still a really important skill. And there are other things. I can't really think of any other good examples. But live streams are ideal in terms of learning how to get better. And you will literally get better if you just watch a lot of Warzone streams, because you'll pick up on some good habits through osmosis. Like Tanner said, there are things that they will do that you should not do, that you should not even try to do. These things will be obvious. For example, Mutex will queue for quads by himself. Right off the bat, if you have two brain cells you can rub together, you've probably figured out, maybe I shouldn't be queuing for quads by myself. Good. You figured that out. But another thing too is they will see 3 people in a room and they'll go into the room and start shooting them. Hey, you should know. Don't do that. You can't. You aren't good enough to do that. But there are still a lot of other little habits and things they'll do that you can pick up on and learn to do well. The biggest thing I would say is in Warzone, there are a lot of 1v1 gunfight situations. And in a 1v1 gunfight situation, that is a situation you will be in Warzone. And what you can do is watch someone who's really good, who's in a situation in a 1v1 gunfight. And you think to yourself, okay, if I was in his exact position, his guns, everything, his position, what would I do here? I would go out this door and loop around this way. And then you're going to be very surprised. Guess what he absolutely doesn't fucking do? Whatever the fuck you thought was a good idea. He's going to do something way different. And then you'll be like, oh shit, that's a good idea. The next time I'm in a similar position, maybe I should try doing that. And that will happen extremely often. That is the biggest tip I have when watching streams, is try to put yourself in their shoes and think, what would I do in this position? Figure that out, and then watch them not do that, and then laugh at yourself for being dumb and dog shit. And then maybe over time, you'll learn your instincts suck, watch more Warzone streams, and eventually You'll be watching him and you'll be like, I would do this. And then they actually do the thing you thought you should do. And then you'll be like, cool, it's working. I'm learning things. And it will absolutely translate to you being a better player. The next time you're eating dinner, instead of turning on Netflix, turn on a Warzone stream. When you're on break at work, instead of staring at the vending machine for 5 minutes, figuring out whether you want a Snickers or a Three Musketeers, get a fucking Nutri-Grain bar and then watch a Warzone stream. At lunch at work, instead of flirting with this married chick who you know isn't going to fuck you anyway, go into your car alone and watch a Warzone stream. The more Warzone streams you watch, I promise you, the better you will play. This applies to all video games, but it's true for Warzone too. I've been playing Hearthstone again lately. Got Legend super easily, by the way, because I'm a demon, 500 IQ. And this is one thing I do in Hearthstone that is very effective, is I will watch a Hearthstone streamer. They'll have their hand, they'll have a board, and I'll be like, okay, I would play these cards here. Guess what they will do? Not that. And then I'll be like, oh, fuck, that was smart. Here's why. And then they win. And it's like, okay, well, that's where they're number 1 legend and I'm number 4 fucking thousand. These are good things to do for any video game. And it's especially true for Warzone. So watch Warzone streams. Watch YouTube videos too if you want. They're entertaining. I get it. But Warzone streams are going to be a lot better in terms of how much you learn. And that leads to the next tip here, which is focus on one skill at a time and deliberately practice it. Your centering will not be better just because you heard us tell you to make your centering better. It doesn't work like that. The only way it's for you to improve your centering is to queue up for Warzone and say, today, I'm going to focus on one thing only, having good centering. Because we gave you a lot of tips today. If you're not doing any of this shit, you're not going to be able to just incorporate them all tomorrow.
Exactly, yeah.
You're not going to learn how to slide cancel, B-hop, get good centering, not repeat the same angle twice, etc., and do it all tomorrow just because you heard the tips today. You can't do it. It's not possible. So what you need to do is pick one tip and say, okay, today I'm going to make sure I'm slide canceling more. That's all I'm going to do today. I'm not going to worry about my centering or anything else. It's going to take time. I got to do one skill at a time. Pick one skill per play session and really force yourself, try really hard to constantly be utilizing that skill. And then eventually it will become a habit. Slide canceling is now a habit for you. Great. Good job, man. You're now a better player. 1,000%. It's just that simple. You weren't slide canceling before. Now it's a habit for you to slide cancel. Congratulations. Your KD is unironically going to go up by 0.05 to 0.1 even. Now it's time for you to move on to another skill and do it again. Okay, today I'm going to focus on not re-engaging in gunfights unless I'm fully plated. And then do that for 2 weeks. And then it will be a habit, and then you can move on to another skill.
True, yeah.
But you have to do it all actually try, and you can't do it all at once. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, you're not going to learn, you're not going to get good at doing all of those things in such a short period of time. You do have to focus on individual things. Like my thing I've been trying to get better at in Warzone is the movement aspect of it, because I see what these streamers do about moving all around the place. So that's what I've been trying to do. That's what I've been focusing on solely. Aside from everything else, that's what I'm trying to get better at. So that's what I'm focusing on. So when you notice instead of aiming at someone's cock, you're aiming at their nipple, then I think your centering is good enough. Move on to something else. Start getting good at that.
Yes. And hopefully the habit is stuck.
Yes.
So then you can move on to another skill without losing your last one. Yeah, that's the goal. And then if you did incorporate every tip we gave you today and you were only doing half of them, I literally promise you your KD will go up by like a significant margin, like 0.2, 0.3. If you weren't doing half of the shit we talked about today, and then you make all of those habits, your KD is going to go up a lot. You're going to get a lot better. But you have to pick one thing that you're not doing and focus on only that for a couple play sessions until it's a habit. Because these really good Warzone pros,
Yep.
they do all of these things and they don't think about a single goddamn one. They're all habits for them. And that's why they're better than you. So if you want to get like them, you got to make all this shit a habit. And then the very last point is that, remember, this is a video game. You're listening to a podcast about a video game. Your life has enough problems for you to be getting butthurt about this. Okay? If you're trash and you have fun and you don't care about getting better, then absolutely don't get better.
Yeah, use that thermal MW M4 that I keep seeing.
If you have fun doing that, by all means, keep doing it. It doesn't matter. It's a video game. However, I will also add some things, like slide canceling is a good example of this. There is no excuse for everyone to not be constantly slide canceling. Because not slide canceling isn't more fun or different than slide canceling constantly. It's strictly just worse. There's no reason to not be always slide canceling, for example. So you should be doing it even if you're the most casual player on earth. Because if you only play for fun and you don't care about getting better, guess what would make your game more fun? Getting more kills and dying less often.
Yeah.
So like slide canceling as an example is one thing that no matter how casual you are, no matter how little you care about your KD, you should still be working on improving because you're not losing anything by doing it. You can still use your dog shit guns and slide cancel, and you're going to have a better KD, which means you're going to be having even more fun for doing your casual only for fun activity. Those tips do exist. They should be clear. But if you have fun using trash weapons, then keep using trash weapons. That's fine.
Easier
but
lobbies
that's
for
not
everyone
an excuse
else.
to keep repeaking the same angle 8 times.
Yeah.
There's another tip that's like not negotiable. Do some of this shit that doesn't impact what is fun for you. It's not more fun for anyone to repeat the same angle 3 times than it is to peek 3 different angles.
Yeah.
I don't accept that it's more fun for you to repeat the same angle. So stop doing it, because if you do stop doing it, you'll get more kills, you'll die less, and then you'll have even more fun. So all of you should be trying to improve in some aspects, because if you do better, your fun activity will be even more fun. But some of the things, again, like sniping, using trash weapons, using trash equipment, using trash perks, if you get enjoyment out of that, then go ahead and just accept that you're not doing as well as you could be. That's great. But some of this shit, there really is no excuse, and you'll have more fun if you do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's a video game at the end of the day. You should absolutely try to get better in some aspects because it'll make your fun activity more fun. But if you're shit and, you know, I don't know, you're mad about it, don't be. Who fucking cares? It's a video game. Your life is in shambles. You're listening to a podcast about Call of Duty.
Yeah,
you
you're
have
down
bigger
bad.
things to worry about than your Warzone KD, trust me. So just remember that also. It's not that big of a deal. And if you're an average player and you want to be a Warzone pro, and that's what's making you so mad about your Warzone KD, I have some bad news for you. You will never be a professional Warzone player. Never. Never. Warzone pros, when they first start playing Call of Duty and they know none of this, have a 2+ KD. Week 1. If that's not you, you'll never be a pro anyway, so stop getting mad about it. Because it's impossible for you to improve enough.
Yeah.
It's not possible. If you're an average player, you'll never be good enough to have a successful stream by playing Warzone. You could do some crazy shit and have a successful stream, but you'll never be a successful Warzone streamer. You'll never be a successful Warzone YouTuber. You'll never be in tournaments. It's impossible for you if you're below average, average, or even slightly above average. Nothing you can do is going to make you a pro, period. And just accept it now, because you're never going to improve from a 1.0 average KD with 100 games played to competing with Huskers. You're not good enough. Sorry. That's life. Hey, I was never going to be in the NBA no matter how many fucking free throws I practiced. Welcome to life, dude. So just accept that.
At basketball.
Accept that and move on, and you should still try to improve even if you're not going to be a pro.
Yeah, wow, thanks for that. Thanks for that, man. We definitely need some sort of a therapy sponsor after that, because there are quite a few people absolutely sobbing right now.
We are accepting sponsorship.
So, I mean, there's people just sobbing, crying, pissing, shitting their pants.
About any of that?
Yeah, solid pep talk there, huh? Yeah. No, but just have fun with it. I think they know. People that aren't good know.
I think there are some people who have like a 1.1, 1.2 KD who really think if they like practice enough, they could be Warzone professionals. I think a lot of those people exist. I think some of them listen to this podcast. Let me be super clear. You are not good enough. You never will be. Yeah. So try and improve all you want, but just keep updating your resume, because this isn't going to be your thing. It's not. It's just not.
Yeah.
Because Warzone pros on their first day of Warzone had a 2-3 plus KD. They're naturally better than you. They always will be. You can improve to the maximum of your capacity, and it's not even going to be close to being competitive.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, they're a special breed. People that are pros are also good at every video game they ever play ever.
True.
And always have been since they were 6 years old. So.
Yep.
Yeah, if you want to use,
still make content. We have a podcast about Call of Duty. You don't have to be very good to do that. But I was never under the delusion that I was going to be a Warzone streamer or Warzone YouTuber, because I know I'm not good enough. It's never going to happen for me. So I tried something else. So you want to make content? That's fine. You can do that. But it's not going to be streaming Warzone for 16 hours a day like fucking Symphony does and making millions of dollars. Wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you want to have fun and keep using your shit guns, fantastic, do whatever you want. I just saw a tweet a little while ago. It was pretty funny. They were like, thank God J-God put out that Bison video. Now I'm just winning every single gunfight because I'm using an Owen gun and the Bison is dog shit. He's like, shout out to J-God. The lobbies are trash right now. People can't win gunfights. Yeah. So use what you want, have fun with your friends. A lot of people play just to socialize, but it is possible for you to raise your KD from a 0.55 to a 0.65 or 0.7 and have a little bit more fun. So maybe that should be your goal. Learn some of these things, do a little bit better, have more fun.
Exactly. If you're going to be wasting time playing a video game just for fun anyway, you might as well get better at it in ways that don't negatively impact how much enjoyment you get, because then you'll have even more fun doing the activity. But I think I've belabored that point enough.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. If you are a new frog, this episode especially, I very much would appreciate some feedback on. So for anyone who has listened, please, I would really appreciate, no matter what your skill level, you join the fucking Discord, go to the feedback channel, let us know what your thoughts were on this episode. Are you really good and thought it was a total waste of your time? Let me know. Are you really good and you thought you didn't learn anything, but it was still interesting to listen to? Let us know. Are you trash and you found this episode woefully unhelpful and you disagree with all of our tips? Let us know, because I'm going to laugh at you because you're just wrong that slide canceling isn't the most effective thing, for example. But like, no matter where you are or what you're doing, I would really appreciate feedback on this episode. And if it helped you especially, that would be cool to hear as well. And if we left out any tips also, let us know about that. I'm sure we did. I'm sure there are even more things.
Millions of tips we forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest tip, which I was saving the grand finale, the last tip, of course, is that if you really did want to boost your Warzone KD by like 1.0, 2.0, etc., that is possible. And we saved, of course, the best for last. And the way to do that is go to patreon.com/thedropshot and sign up for up to 7 bonus episodes a month. We do Call of Duty episodes and you'll learn more and you'll get better. Do we have a money back guarantee for your KD going up? And so you should do it. Because your KD will go up. Your dick will grow longer. Women will be more attracted to you. You'll get more frames per second. even if you're a woman, yes, maybe especially. And you'll earn a higher salary. It is that simple. You'll get a return on investment. You pay a meager couple bucks a month, and then your salary goes up 10%. Who went up in the end?
That's just inflation.
You did. Well, and we'll edit that out. Patreon.com/the Dropshot is the best way to support the program. Once again, 7 bonus episodes a month. We do monthly hangouts and more. It's where we offer all of our bonus content. So take a look. You can find the link at thedropshot.com to the Patreon. You can find a link to the YouTube where we have all of our episodes in video format. The Twitter, which you should be following. We post our schedules there. And the Discord, of course, which is our community hub. It is a small but vibrant and extremely humble community. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Have an excellent evening, of course. And as always, remember, stay humble.
Stay humble, little buds.